You know, I get up early in the morning. Usually can't sleep past 4 or 5. So I do it before I go to work, for the most part. From second, and his speed is 3, so he needs a 1, 2, or 3 on the red die. And because he's a 3 runner is safe on 70 or lower, but there's 2 outs, so you add 10 to that, so 80 or lower, and he's safe. So he needs a 380, and look at that, he barely made it. So I'm sure it was an exciting play at the plate.
Me out to the ball game, take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
I've often thought that, God forbid, if our house was on fire, once we got everybody who's living outside and I could save only one piece of anything from the house, this would be what I would take out of the house. All right, so this is a huge waste of time here, but for me it's peaceful and relaxing. And we've got a game here between the Orleans Cardinals and the Bourne Braves of the Cape Cod Baseball League. And I'm replaying the season as I've done for the last 3 years. This is the 4th year that I've done this. When I first started with these kinds of simulation games, the first game I got into was All-Star Baseball, and this is actually a first edition All-Star Baseball game that I got in Cooperstown a few years ago. The one I had was from the 1970s, and this one's from 1941. And when you're 7 years old, you don't have anybody to really show you how to do it. It's totally overwhelming, you know. So this sat on my shelf for, you know, probably 4 or 5 years before I really got into it. But then by the time I was like 15, you know, I'd go up to my room and I'd be playing this game kind of like the way I play my own game now. And I replayed the whole 1980 season because I was a Phillies fan growing up, and that was the year they won. So I replayed the whole 1980 season, you know, by myself. But when I was in high school, we also had some leagues, you know, where people would draft teams and make trades and stuff and play. And then we did the same thing in college, actually. And Wong hits a home run. So I made a bad managerial decision in trying to steal with Tyler Green because I'd have 2 runs right now. I only got 1. Occasionally I will do an early morning sports center. Yeah. What I really should be doing is an early morning workout. But this is more fun for me, and relaxing, and I'm just anxious to see who wins.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you don't really need therapy,
Totally.
You know, but they were fun, and maybe that's what's therapeutic about it now is that it makes me feel like I'm a kid again. You know, it makes me feel like I'm 10 years old, you know, playing dice baseball. Now I'm 46 and I'm, you know, kind of doing the same stuff. But yeah, it's got those familiar rhythms that I find enjoyable and relaxing. And, you know, sometimes when it's like -20 outside and, you know, I can come in here and I've got a baseball game going on in my head. It's kind of nice and relaxing. And if you know, if you end up wanting to sell it, the guy who really collects this Northern League stuff, all this Vermont memorabilia, is a guy named his name is Dana Sprague down in Brattleboro. You know, every time I go to a game, I get almost as excited as I did when I was 8 years old. You know, I mean, my wife teases me because I'll be with the kids and I'll be walking down that long gravel driveway to Centennial Field, you know, from Colchester Avenue, and I'll still have that urge to run, you know, like, you know, especially if the game's like about to start. I get that same feeling of excitement. I mean, I guess that's my team now, the Lake Monsters. I still watch a lot of baseball. I always will. Of course, nothing matches going to a game live, and that's one of the things. I used to say that living here in Burlington was the greatest place to be a baseball fan because you had Major League Baseball an hour and a half away in Montreal. And then you had minor league baseball right up at Centennial Field and college baseball right up the hill. And now we've lost the Montreal Expos, we've lost UVM baseball, and we're in danger of losing the Lake Monsters. Right. So it's depressing. But I feel like we got to start fighting back. Baseball's got some real advantages over other sports. It's got this incredible history that I think people are interested in if they're exposed to it. So that's one of the things that I'm hopeful of doing with by starting this kids chapter of Sabre, trying to get kids interested in the history of baseball and everything that goes kind of behind the game. It's such a it's such a complex game that you can appreciate on so many different levels, and to introduce these kids to some of the things that go beyond like just the most basic running, batting, and throwing, and getting them to appreciate baseball the way I do is a goal. Because I think if I can't imagine that baseball will ever disappear as long as we keep exposing kids to it, because it really is a lot of fun.